What's up guys, welcome to another range day. Today we're going to be shooting my WBP Mini Jack SBR. Guys, if you enjoy the content that I'm making, then please make sure to like and subscribe and leave me a message down in the comments section. I hate asking, but it really does help the algorithm a lot, so I'd really appreciate it. And if you ring the bell icon, you should get notifications when new videos are released as well. Additionally, if you want more Chester's Hobbies content, you can follow me on Instagram where you can see what I'm working on and get previews of upcoming videos. I'm also pretty active on Reddit if you'd like to follow along with the conversations there. Alright, well that's enough of that, so back to the gun of the day, my WBP Mini Jack SBR. So if you saw my first shots video with the Mini Jack, you'll know that this gun started off as an AK braced pistol chambered in 5.56, and it was a ton of fun with excellent reliability. That video also showed that when suppressing the Mini Jack with my dead air Wolverine, it was throwing casings about 45 feet, so it was significantly overgassed while shooting suppressed. So since I was planning on this being my only 5.56 AK, I wanted to go all out on it and make it as good as it could possibly be from both a functional and aesthetics perspective. So the first thing I did was file a Form 1 to make it an SBR, and once that was approved, I had a lot of fun getting it set up exactly how I wanted it. So starting with the handguards, I installed the Zenitco B10U lower handguard and B19N upper handguard, which is an awesome combination in my opinion. The lower handguard is hammered into the receiver, so it's a nice tight fit. It adds some great rail space and looks amazing to me personally. I also added the Zenitco RK6 hand stop, which functions a lot like a chopped vertical grip so it doesn't get in the way of reloads. Now as I mentioned before in my first shots video, I added a Stormworks 1913 Picatinny mount to the rear trunnion, which is how I was running my SB Tactical Triangle brace when it was a brace pistol. Now that it's an SBR, I set it up with a JMac Customs ST6 skeletonized buffer tube and a Mission First Tactical Minimalist stock. I love these stocks for ARs, and while I normally don't like AR stocks on AKs, I actually think it looks really good on this more tactical looking build in my opinion. The skeletonized buffer tube can fold to the left or the right. I have mine set up to fold to the right so I don't have to remove my RS Regulate optic mount when folding it. In terms of function, I think the setup is almost as good as the Zenitco PT1 stock that I have in my AK105. It has a somewhat similar look, folds smoothly, feels excellent, and is far less expensive as well. Then I added a Krebs custom enhanced safety selector, which I really like. Makes going back and forth between safe and fire much smoother. I also added a Zenitco RK3 pistol grip. Now I normally don't like finger grooves on pistol grips, and when I got this one in originally, I didn't really like it. So it sat in my parts bin for a while until I was building out this gun, decided to give it a shot, and so far I'm actually really enjoying it. I'll be very interested to see how it feels in a more extended session today. Then the biggest change that I knew I wanted to make to the Mini Jack is I wanted to get the gas under control when shooting suppressed. So I measured the piston and determined that the K&S Precision AGP A4 adjustable piston designed for the Zastava M92 was the perfect length. Unfortunately, that's actually a large bore piston designed specifically for 7.62x39, so when I installed it initially, the gun actually wouldn't cycle when shooting unsuppressed. So I contacted K&S Precision and they were really helpful. They offered to swap out my large bore piston head for their small bore piston head, which has the exact same external dimensions but is tuned for smaller calibers like 5.56 and 5.45. So I took them up on their offer and swapped the piston heads, and the results were much better. Initially, when using the small bore piston head with the Definitive Arms muzzle brake, I was only successfully cycling rounds about 50% of the time. Keep in mind I'm using low-powered Wolf Performance steel case ammunition here. Then I tried out this crank-style booster device from WBP and had 100% reliability, which is great. I do tend to prefer to run muzzle brakes whenever I can, but if it won't run with a muzzle brake, then that's not going to be the end of the world. That said, the first day I brought this setup down to the range to test it with my Wolverine, I ended up running about 40 rounds through it flawlessly with the muzzle brake, which was awesome and felt great. So I'm really excited to see how it runs today. If it doesn't work with the brake, it's not a huge deal, just throw the booster on and run it like that. But the big reason for doing all this tuning with the piston system was to improve the performance when shooting suppressed. As previously mentioned in my first shots video, my Mini Jack was launching spent casings about 45 feet when shooting suppressed. It was really overgassed. And so I'm happy to report that with the new K&S adjustable piston setup, the casings are now ejecting about 8 to 10 feet consistently, and the recoil impulse is much softer. The action is also moving far less violently now, which will greatly improve parts longevity as well. It was a little chilly today, it's about 55 degrees, and it was around 80 degrees when I initially set it up, so I may have to adjust my settings a little bit. So all that is basically to say that I've made what I think are some huge improvements to my Mini Jack, and I'm really excited to shoot it today. So it'll actually be my first proper range day shooting it as an SBR, so it should be a ton of fun. Alright guys, so let's hit the range and see how my Mini Jack performs as an SBR with the K&S adjustable piston. So guys, I want to give you an idea of what the Mini Jack sounds like both unsuppressed versus suppressed with the Wolverine and the K&S Piston. So I'm going to start off with 2 shots slow fire into the pumpkin unsuppressed, and then I'm going to cut over to 2 shots with the Dead Air Wolverine and the K&S Piston adjusted so you can see what that sounds like as well. So let's start off with 2 shots unsuppressed. Oh man, guys, this gun is so much better than it was during my first shots video. I'm so excited about this. I shot 270 rounds today, which is a little bit more than I was planning on, but I was having so much fun, guys. I just didn't want to stop. Roughly half of those rounds were suppressed, and I had absolutely 0 failures when shooting suppressed, so that was awesome. And then for the other half, I was using the Definitive Arms muzzle brake. The Mini Jack actually ran great with the Definitive Arms muzzle brake for the first 80 rounds or so. I had 1 failure to eject in the first magazine, and then after that, it was great. Then I shot suppressed for a while, and when I went back to unsuppressed, I did have a few more failures. I had about 4 failures to eject in 55 rounds there. So not great, but I did notice they all happened in the first couple of mags, and then after that it ran fine. So I don't know, it's kind of weird, but for the most part it's running great for me, and it is awesome with this Definitive Arms brake, guys. It's got a big boom, huge fireballs, and it's really flat shooting with that Definitive Arms brake. I'm absolutely in love with the changes that I made to this gun, guys. The Zenitco handguard with the RK6 hand stop feels fantastic and gives me much more leverage than I had with the original handguards. And honestly, this minimalist stock feels excellent on this gun. It's so comfortable and stable and way more fun to shoot than it was with the floppy triangle brace. I'm actually really happy to say that the Zenitco pistol grip felt great for me today. It was really comfortable. I had no issues with it at all. I'm really glad that I got it. I will say that today was a very good reminder to always have tools with you when you go to the range. I had 2 things loosen up a little bit on me today. The Zenitco pistol grip and the JMac SD6 buffer tube both loosened up on me a little bit. And I'm usually really good at having tools with me, but I actually didn't today, so I had to run back to the house to grab some. Fortunately, my range is on the same land that my house is on, so it wasn't too bad, but if I had a long commute back to the house, it would have really ruined the range day. So take it from me, just a friendly tip and reminder, always make sure you have tools in your range bag. The action on this gun is extremely smooth, and the trigger is actually excellent in my opinion. It's basically a standard mil-spec AK trigger, but it's really light and smooth and easy to run quick for me. It's definitely no ALG AKT trigger, and maybe I'll consider putting one in at some point, but for now I'm loving this trigger, honestly. But guys, without a doubt, the biggest win of the day is how smooth this gun shoots suppressed now. I can't even begin to tell you how much better this gun is suppressed with the K&S piston installed. With the gas system properly adjusted, this is one of the softest shooting AKs that I've ever shot suppressed, guys. It is insane. There's no gas in the face at all. It's just incredibly smooth and honestly pretty quiet for 5.56 as well. The low back pressure with the overboard dead air Wolverine really makes a big difference at the shooter's ear. It's extremely comfortable behind the gun. I definitely wouldn't shoot it without air protection, of course, because it's still very loud and supersonic for sure. But with air protection on, it completely gets rid of the concussion of shooting the gun unsuppressed, and it's just so smooth shooting, guys. I can't emphasize that enough. This gun is really flat shooting now, both unsuppressed and suppressed, but I would say it's a little bit flatter shooting suppressed. And taking away most of that concussion out of a short 10-inch barrel shooting 5.56 with a muzzle brake is really, really nice and just a pleasure to shoot. Now, as awesome as this gun is, I do still think that at the end of the day, I do prefer my 5.45 AKs over this 5.56 variant here. But I've got to be honest, guys, this is actually really, really close. And here in the US, we'll most likely never have to worry about the availability of 5.56 or 2.23 ammunition. And the same definitely can't be said for 5.45, which has become really hard to come by. So I think in a lot of ways, a 5.56 AK is a really smart investment right now, especially over something like 5.45 that you might not be able to feed very easily in the future. There's definitely a good amount of concussion with this muzzle brake shooting 5.56 out of a short 10-inch barrel, but shooting outside with good ear pro and earplugs underneath, it really doesn't bother me at all. It's just an absolute blast to shoot. That said, I do have a feeling if you were to bring a gun like this into an indoor range, it would most likely be pretty unpleasant for you and any of the unlucky people in the bays next to you. So something to keep in mind. For my purposes outside, I love this muzzle brake. I'm really glad that I got it. I'm loving the J-Max skeletonized buffer tube. It's really lightweight, it folds very easily, and these QD sling points work perfect with my Savvy Sniper sling. I also love this Krebs custom enhanced safety lever. It makes flipping from safe to fire and back again much smoother and faster than a standard safety lever. As always, the RS Regulate AK301M and AKML setup works great for me with the primary arms micro dot. I get a nice lower 1/3 co-witness with the iron sights as well, which I really like having for both backup and also to help reconfirm zero when I take the mount on and off. I also had no issues with the dead air Wolverine walking off on me today. I made sure to put it in a vise and crank the mount down before I came down here. When I put it on the Mini Jack, I made sure to use a wrench to crank it down nice and tight as well. One ancillary thing that I've noticed is that magazine fitment is a little bit tighter in this 5.56 AK than it is in my 5.45 AKs. I don't know if that's necessarily true of all 5.56 AKs. I could probably do a little bit more filing on my magazines to get them to fit a little better, but just something I thought I'd mention. So yeah, guys, that's my 5.56 Mini Jack. I'm absolutely ecstatic about how this build came out. It's honestly way more fun than I ever thought it would be, and it's exactly what I was looking for. I had a few different options I was considering when I was looking for a short barrel 5.56 AK. I have to say I'm absolutely thrilled that I took a gamble and went with the WBP Mini Jack. It's simply fantastic. I love it so much. The fit and finish is excellent. It takes standard AKM furniture, and knowing this is a really high quality Polish import gives me confidence it's going to last me for a real long time. So that's going to be all for today, guys. We got a lot more videos coming up soon, including more AKs, ARs, PCCs, handguns, and shotguns. Remember to like and subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned, and thanks for stopping by.